You're watching the Top 6 Show, the original multi-club fan channel. Make sure you're following us now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description below. Welcome back to the Top 6 Show, sponsored tonight by our new partners, Match Bingo. We're going to take you through what they are, what they do later, but download their app now and get 10 free cards to play this weekend. More to come on them. We've got a brilliant panel for you tonight as well. Back on the terrace is man like Gunny. Hope you're well. He's repping Chelsea. Everyone knows who Gunny is. He's here repping Chelsea. We've got Winter Surfer here too. We've got man like G, big Liverpool fan. And Kate is here with us. We'll put Kate up near the top, refereeing Tottenham. We've got Tom Little coming on the show later. Saad, a Gooner as well. A few people a little bit later. You all right, Andrew? You're normally on time. I was wondering where you were.
I thought he said yes. I thought he said tomorrow. So I was
like, I had the same problem with KJ as well. I thought he said another day.
I thought he said tomorrow because I was like, why is he doing it now? Why is it? And then, oh no. So sorry, I apologize.
Generally, it's always on Thursday at 6, unless there's big football on a Thursday in the Premier League or whatnot. But we've got loads to talk about today. We're looking at Benzema, big story this afternoon. Chelsea looking at him in more intensely than maybe they were this morning, along with those Arsenal links. We're going to be looking ahead at Arsenal versus Crystal Palace and the importance of the Gunners winning that game. We're going to be looking at Manchester City as well, after a chief financial expert who used to work for City has said they could be relegated. And we're going to go into that in a bit more detail on the show. But I wanted to first start with a big story that's come out of my beloved club, Manchester United, and that is that Anthony Martial is not only not fit, but he's been banned from training with the rest of his teammates by Ten Hag, because Ten Hag thinks, I'm paraphrasing here, but he hasn't been working hard enough, that he's been lazy and he's allowed himself to become unfit. What do we make of this? Is this Ten Hag being a bit of a bully, going over the top again like he did with Sancho, like he did with others? Or is this the case of just more problems and more player power and laziness in that dressing room at Man United? What's your thoughts on this, G, looking from the outside in?
I feel like the two things can be right. It could be a bit of both in terms of potential player power, but then at the same time, he's been there for how long now? You know, obviously since Ten Hag has been there, he knows what Ten Hag is about. He's seen the situation with Ronaldo. He's seen the situation with Sancho. So he'd be a fool to potentially try and go down that route. But then at the same time, looking at it from Ten Hag's perspective, this is sort of becoming a bit of a theme now with the players that he's got, you know, in terms of whether it's a case of just they don't fit his ideologies, they're not potentially, you know, doing what he's asking of them in training or downing tools in any such way, or any of their off-field problems, whatever it may be. The way he goes about it afterwards, for me, is more key than the actual problem in itself. Because I always feel like he's going to be on the end of, you know, backlash at times in these kind of situations. We look at the Sancho situation and you think to yourself, whichever side you're on, if Sancho goes away now and has an amazing 6 months, comes back, everyone's going to be looking at it thinking, well, who's the problem now? Do you know what I mean? And if Martial, the same thing, he goes away or whatever it is now banned, you're isolating these players. These are not kids. You know, these are not children. And I don't know the situation in terms of why he's banning him, but unless it's really, really serious, I feel like, is there not another route that we can go down that could potentially, you know, give you a different outcome? Because at the moment, all of this banning players, you know, isolating them and things like that. Remember, they're all friends. They all talk. They all have other friends from other football clubs that you might want to sign a player from. All it does is word gets around. All of a sudden, don't think you really want to play for this guy. Nah, I don't really think you want to. It's like you work for a company. I wouldn't really work here. My manager's a bit of a, you know what, kind of thing. And then word starts to get around and you gain that reputation for no reason. So who knows, man? Who knows?
Just for full clarity, the United stand have come out and made a statement saying that they've been told by their sources that this is a false story. But then you've got other claims from outlets saying it's true. You've just had Fraser Fletcher, who has come out and said that Anthony Martial's agent has denied the reports that he's training alone and the player is just recovering from an injury. It feels a little bit of 6 of one, half a dozen of another, and PR going on here. But what it definitely demonstrates to me as a Man United fan is the absolute circus that our football club is. The fact that there's people at the club leaking that he's being made to train alone because he isn't trying to keep himself fit. You've then got maybe the player potentially, that could be true, but the player saying, no, it's not. He's just doing individual recovery. You've got some journalists that saying none of it's true whatsoever. Gunny, is this just another example of how poorly put together Man United are right now?
Yes and no. I think, in terms of the agent, I'll say this is, you see, when it comes to agents, you can't always believe what they say, because their first priority is to protect their investment, because that's exactly what they are. They're always going to want what's best for their players. So for me, I take those kind of things with a pinch of salt. But in terms of what we've been seeing over for a little while now over at Manchester United, I just think things are getting out they're a bit public for where they shouldn't be. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes, regardless of if the player is wrong or not, you've got to learn when to protect the player and when you've got to protect the image of your club. And I don't think Man United have really done the best job of doing that. This, especially after what's gone on with Jadon Sancho. Now this story about Martial coming out, whether it's true or not, it just doesn't look good. Just deal with the problem. If the player is the problem and you don't want him at your club, get him out of the club. It's very simple.
Mm. No, I agree. And there's more clarity on it here that says, for those asking who's lying, the press or the agent, because most media outlets have said it's true. It's the United stand via their connections with Anthony Martial's agent that have said, shows how big the United stand have become when they've legitimately got proper sources now. It's crazy. And I mean that in a nice way. He says it's been confirmed that the story suggesting Anthony Martial has been excluded from first team is inaccurate. It's clarified that Anthony Martial is undergoing separate training as part of his recovery process. This is a routine practice for injured players, and Mason Mount is similarly engaged in individual training during his recovery. And I'm not saying that the United stand are just telling us what the agent has said, which I think is fair. My view is this: when the media recently put out statements that the manager had lost the dressing room, they came out and banned journalists who didn't, not so much because they wrote the article, but because they didn't come and speak to them. If journalists came out in their droves, multiple outlets, and lied that the manager had banned someone for being lazy, essentially, if that's a complete lie, I get the agent coming out. Why haven't Man United come out directly and said this is a false story? Delete, please. Like, do you get wrong? For me, I'm not saying it's 100% true. I don't even know whose side I'm even on in this if it is true, because I'm almost done with it. But for me, there's no smoke without fire, if that makes sense. And I don't know if I'm being harsh here. I'm not judging Ten Hag anymore. We all know my thoughts on him. I think he should go. Anthony Martial, every time I look at him, I feel sad that he didn't become the player that I hoped that he would. This, for me, is just another demonstration of how poorly run we are, because the fact the club are not coming out and denying it and sticking up for their player tells you there's probably loggerheads. In my opinion, there's something going on between this player and the manager, because this has happened with multiple individuals, and it's just painful to see, if I'm being honest with you. Genuinely painful to watch more of this nonsense at my club. It really is. Kate, what's your take on this? There's a lot of Man United fans sticking up for Martial online, saying this is what ends up happening every time Ten Hag tries to manage a technically gifted football player. Do you think it's as simplistic as that?
Well, first of all, Ten Hag seems to have a bit of previous of falling out with people. But if he thinks he's genuinely not fit and he's not trying to keep himself fit, then I've got no problem with him making him train on his own. I think he's only got 6 months left on his contract anyway. He obviously doesn't want him at the club. He obviously isn't in his plans. I don't really have a problem with it. I think these footballers get mollycoddled. They get paid an absolute fortune to play. If he's not taking the time to keep himself fit, I don't understand why there's such a big problem. Honestly, I don't. Maybe I've just seen someone like Shaw. He's another one who always looks like he's ballooning in weight. I don't know what state Martial's in. All I know is it's blatantly obvious that him and Ten Hag have had some sort of falling out. Ten Hag seems to be quite a divisive character. All the while he's at the club and the board are supporting him, he's going to do these things. I don't see the problem. If you're not going to train and look after yourself, go and train on your own. I say good luck to him if that's what he wants to do. I think our club should. I think we made a few of our players train on their own before we loaned them out a couple of seasons ago. Like I say, they're mollycoddled. They don't have to do a lot. They need to train and play.
What I will say about my club is this. if we did this to a it depends on who the person is that's being made to train by themselves. If it's a player that is, there's always a player that's liked and hated. We're so polarized as a fan base. If it's Anthony Martial, there's a certain percentage of Man United fans who'll be outraged and they'll call it bullying. But if the same thing was done to Bruno Fernandes, they'd clap and cheer and say, well done. And vice versa. The people that are saying well done for doing this to Martial are the same people that would be outraged if he did it to Rashford or Bruno. That, for me, is a big concern in this as well. And you typically know that these leaks come from people that know they have a certain group that are always on their side. And that's why recently I've said I'd actually want us to set all the players that have a fan FC attached to them at Man United, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, I want them all gone from my club. Because I just think that's another way that we're going to fix ourselves, is because you can't even imagine not being able to treat your players even closely the same based on how certain fans act online and cry and boo-hoo about it. It's crazy for me. Bruno is crap anyway, Terry. Yeah, maybe he is, but it's irrelevant. It's not the point, is it? It's completely irrelevant to the situation. But
Terry,
I was going to say, Terry. Oh, sorry.
Oh, good. Sorry, and I was just going to say, I've heard a lot of people say they think Rashford's one of the people that leaks these stories. Are you of that opinion? I've heard a lot of
no, I don't think Rashford leaks the stories about other people doing bad things, or people. I don't think Rashford does that. What Rashford leaks is, say there's stories that come out and say lots of players aren't training well. Very soon after a story like that comes out, Rashford, via a big journalist, it will come out that Rashford's working so hard that he's it's like Rashford will always be the guy that's, no, I'm not doing that. He'll never say who is, but he's a bit like that teacher's pet. Does that make sense? Yeah. I'm not going to say who threw the book across the room, miss, but I can say it wasn't me or anyone sitting around my side. He's a little bit like that. Does that make sense? He doesn't leak negative information about others, but he sort of puts himself out there as well. I didn't do that. And I don't like either. It's just train hard and perform and get on with your job. And we've got to stop all of this coming out at Manchester United. This says, Ten Hag reminds me of Conte. Conte at Chelsea creates problems for himself.
The thing is, what I was going to even say, even just that super chat there, you just said it in when you mentioned about your take on this. You're sick and you're sick and tired of it. But this isn't the first time that, even if this is fake news, the fact that this is even news, like, can we take a second to even comprehend that an institution like Manchester United is even having these kind of conversations anyway? Like, that's not what Manchester, from what I can remember, Manchester United over the last 20, 30 years, that's not the institution I remember. I know times moved on. We're in a different space now. Football's a lot different, social media, blah, 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 all of that good stuff. But ultimately, look at Manchester United. This isn't even the first story. We've heard stories about Rafael Varane. We've heard stories, Mourinho's even come out and speaking about your Luke Shaws. We've seen the stuff about Ronaldo. We've seen the stuff about Anthony. We've seen the stuff about Sancho. How many players and how many issues, Rashford, is your club going to continuously keep going through before something just clicks? And it's like, as you said, maybe we need to get those certain type of players out of the football club, but it's becoming so much. We've gone past circus, because circus is fun. This ain't fun anymore. We've gone way past that. I feel like Manchester United are in a stage where it's almost like I'm starting to just pity everything about Manchester United. And yes, that's fun in itself because I'm a Liverpool fan and I hope you guys fail as much as possible. But at the same time, from a football fan perspective, this is just becoming a little bit just too embarrassing. Like, every week I'm seeing just something different. If it's not the manager, it's another player. And I'm seeing it's more centered around, not even necessarily about the football. The football is the football. It's more about discipline. It's more about, as Gunny said, it's about like the image, not really protecting your players and all these kind of little indifferent. Manchester United, like, this isn't Bournemouth or Brighton. This is Manchester United. This should all be, plug and play. But at the moment, it's just not. And that's probably the sad thing about it, to be honest.
Mate, listen, I totally agree. And I think that there's lots of elements that this is what Sir Jim has got to come in and fix. It's why I think we need a new manager, because I think this guy, elements of Ten Hag that I still kind of like, but I think the rot has set into him as well. Many of these players have got to go, and the fans have got to wake up and smell the coffee and drop this notion of you can treat Rashford one way, but don't you dare do it to Martial. You can do it to Fellaini, but don't you dare do it to Bastian Schweinsteiger. we have got a habit as Man United fans of picking and choosing when we want player power eradicated and when we want it to exist. We've got a habit of enjoying the bullying of a player. And when I say bullying, I mean bullying by our own definition, if the same thing is done to a player that we love. That never existed at Man United until the last 10 years. It's absolutely crazy for me. I think we should get back to what we've always done at my club. The better the player technically, the higher the standard we hold them to. So if you're the best technical football player, the best footballer at the club, you get held to a higher standard than the worst player in the squad. We've gone the other way, where we hold the worst players to a higher standard of scrutiny than the better players. And that stems from so many things, but a weak mentality from some fans. And I think there's a lot that's got to change here, in my opinion. But viewers, give us your thoughts, give us your feelings on Man United's latest debacle. I think the club, Ten Hag, should be honest. If a player is frozen out because of fitness, being secretive makes it suspicious. It doesn't, though. And this is the thing. If it's a lie, they should come out and say it. But they should be stopping the leaks. And I'll tell you why they shouldn't be coming out and saying it's true. Because they're trying to get rid of him this month. And let's just say as a general rule, every time a player is being insubordinate, you tell the world, well, that crashes their value. You can't do that. You keep this stuff in-house. The problem we have is that we have people leaking it all the time. They also need to be, the leaks need to be found and shut up. I'm not talking Don Corleone style, but they need to be shut up, these people, because it's a joke. Our club has got more leaks in it than a fucking colander. It's ridiculous. And all of this, it's just embarrassing, man. My club is an absolute joke. And I know a lot of United fans hate these stories. They hate these stories coming up. They genuinely hate it when these stories are sort of discussed and spoken about. But we have to highlight it. We simply have to. Cantona was treated differently, but he delivered week in, week out. Exactly. And this idea that everyone's going to be treated the same as well. What planet are these children living on? Like, and I'm talking in the professional sense. Like, if we all work for the same company, but G and Gunny were the top salespeople and the rest of us were struggling, we cannot expect to be treated like the two performers. They should be treated better than us. Like, we should all get a basic level of treatment, which is fair. But the better you are at your job, the better you should be treated, the more privileges you should get. You know, I used to do it with my staff all the time. You came in and delivered your numbers. You can go home early. The staff that didn't hit their number, they cleaned the branch because you messed up today. I think that's fair. But like I said, the world's gone soft. It's Terry's policing football. Yeah, okay, twisted. Honestly, bruv, that's one of the dumbest comments I've ever seen in my life. You actually just hurt two of my brain cells. They're just gone. I felt them pop. They've disappeared. Reading that. Saad, welcome, bro. Welcome.
Sorry, guys, man. Sorry, bro. If traffic, stay away from West London, innit? Stay away from West London. That's all I'm going to say.
I live there, mate. It's fine over here,
bro. No. Bro. Closed roads, all sorts, man. Temporary traffic lights. It's crazy. Sorry, apologies, guys.
Sorry, mate. Not a problem at all. Obviously, a big story in the last couple of days. I nearly said gents, obviously, course, plus ladies and gents. So used to doing shows with men.
I don't mind
here as well. Big stories that circulated regarding Everton and Nottingham Forest. But there's an interesting interview today that's on Talk Sport, and I want to play a segment of it. This is a financial expert who worked for Man City up until 2007, talking about the situation and the fact that he thinks if found guilty, they could be relegated. You know, it's first. I think this guy's a City fan as well saying this. Let's take a little listen.
Written
and what do you think?
Public on that. And so I understand the case, but most people don't understand the case because why would they? It has never been explained to them. And Richard Masters sits there and says, well, we've agreed a date. You know,
it is similar, though, to the case that UEFA ran, isn't it?
I think it's very similar to the case that the UEFA ran. And that's
it's a simple argument that can be easily explained, which is that shareholders are funding the football club through concocted sponsorship deals, inflating those sponsorship deals, representing them as sponsorship revenue, when really it's equity money going into the business. So you're representing Etihad or Essalat, that were major sponsors during this period of time, putting X amounts of tens of millions of pounds in on sponsorship deals, which aren't what they say they are. They're actually funding coming from another business called ADUG, which is Sheikh Mansour business. That's what the accusation is.
Well, the accusation, I mean, City wrote themselves, you know, if you look at, because it is similar to the case, I mean, City wrote themselves, the allegations made in these proceedings are serious and based on fraud and conspiracy involving City, ADUG, the sponsors Etisalat and Etihad. You know, these are serious allegations of fraud and dishonesty. It would require a conspiracy And that is the words City use. These are not my words. These are City's words. It's an allegation of fraud and conspiracy that's been made by the Premier League against multiple parties
and by UEFA, and one of which
So, Stefan, we try and make this
convicted them of.
understandable.
well, yes, but
Yeah,
of course
they did. They charged them.
They did.
A day probably will materialise when there will be an announcement out the blue regards Manchester City. Either the charges are dropped and life goes on, or presumably the alternative, City are bang in trouble.
Yeah, well, not dropped. I mean, I think, you know, any of
Compared
this
to Everton and Nottingham Forest, what's the scale of the trouble?
the scale is on a completely different
fraud.
level. I mean,
This is fraud.
there can be no question that that this will end in well, at least relegation, right? So there's no question if those charges are proven. There are a suggestion of conspiracy over effectively 10-year period.
It was an interesting interview to clarify, because there's only a certain amount we're allowed to show under fair use policy. He goes on to say that he doesn't know whether or not they're going to be found guilty, because he says it's going to be hard to prove, but he hasn't seen any of the evidence the Premier League has got. And he goes on to say that a lot of people have played this down, but he thinks that regardless of the verdict, guilty or innocent, he says it's going to change the face of Premier League football. He goes, especially if they're found guilty, because essentially, and people haven't used the words, but City now have, that they are being accused of fraud and conspiracy. And the reason I bring this up is because a lot of people have been talking about Everton and Nottingham Forest and why is it taking so long with Man City. But listening to a financial expert speak who's a City fan and who worked for them for about 10 years state this, like, what's your reaction listening to that, Kate, in terms of the severity of this situation?
I did actually hear the interview. I'm stand by everything he says. If they get found guilty, they should absolutely throw the book at them, because 115 charges is not to be sort of sniffed at. But he did also say he thinks they'll clear their name because they won't be able to get the proof. And that makes me sick to my stomach, because you don't get charged with 115 charges if there isn't something there. But it's just going to be something that we're going to have to wait and see. I mean, there's obviously something they don't want everyone to know. It's so super confidential. I was listening to someone on Sky Sports saying that they're not literally letting journalists know anything, and journalists are massively frustrated. They wouldn't even give them the date of the court appearance. Someone said it's October this year. They won't give them the exact date. They said they're being so, like, everything's behind closed doors. They're not allowed to know anything. So it is really difficult. I would love to see them absolutely get slaughtered, and for every charge they get found guilty of, give them 10 points deduction. There should be transfer bans. I still stand by what I said. The fact they're dragging their backside should be punished, whether at the end or whatever. They haven't been open and honest. They have refused to declare sort of the information. They've made it as difficult as possible. But part of me thinks that this will all just go away and that nothing will happen. I can't help it. I think they may just get away with it from what I'm reading, but it'd be a case of waiting and seeing. It's so frustrating.
G, your team has been the one side that's really gone toe to toe with Man City in this Pep Klopp era. How intrigued are you by this case to know whether or not they have essentially built that world class, one of the greatest squads ever, on the top of fraud and conspiracy? And because a lot of Liverpool fans and United fans over the last few years have said, well, it wouldn't change how I feel about City. It wouldn't undo what they've achieved. They've still won their trophies irrespective. Do you look at it through that lens, or do you, or could you view it, if it's as big a conspiracy theory as this expert said today, do you view it as, genuine glory has been stolen from Liverpool?
I wouldn't say genuine glory has been stolen, because the reality of that would be then, technically, then how did we win a league title even during the midst of this? I think it would just be more, I would just more look at it and think, damn, if they were able to do all of that and we were still going hammer and tongs with them in the Premier League, I think it would just make Liverpool just look even better. Yes, look, whatever they choose to do, if they get found guilty and then they start saying that whoever came second in those league titles, I think there was even a time when Manchester United came second under Ollie. Yeah, you guys are going to get the league title. Great, that looks cute on the scoreboard and stuff like that. But the sheer fact that we were able to battle with them on so many different occasions, I feel like that would be the bigger achievement in everything. Of course, the title would have, will be really, really nice, and it takes us past Manchester United, in the Premier League kind of tally. But ultimately, I think I'm with Kate. I actually think that nothing's going to happen. I genuinely believe they'll get away with. I don't think they'll get away with everything. I think they'll get in trouble for the small things that won't in turn mean anything massive. They might just be. I think was there something about the grass being too long or something. I think they'll get in trouble for things like that. But in terms of the actual big things, I think they'll definitely get away with that because as the financial expert said there, it's more about to find that proof in what they're accusing City of. I almost think it's going to be damn near impossible. Hence the reason why it's probably taking so long, because they probably don't really even have the proof, and the proof that they do have, or that evidence that they do have, it's probably going to be very weak. And I'm very confident in City's lawyers to be able to get them out of this kind of situation. They seem pretty confident as well in terms of City seem relaxed as a football club. They're still going about business like nothing's ever happened, and I just think it's going to be one of those. But with Liverpool, listen, man, it's been fun. It's been fun. If they get relegated, it just means we'll be the best team in the country. So I'm good with that.
Gunny, from your point of view, a lot of City fans think this is a witch hunt against them. It's the Premier League, it's rivals, it's all the other clubs. They've done nothing wrong here. What does your gut tell you? Does your gut tell you that it feels like they've done this, but it maybe can't be proven? Or do you actually feel that City are being unfairly treated by their sort of fellow Premier League clubs?
I think it's a bit of both. My gut feeling definitely does tell me that something doesn't smell right. But then again, I know this doesn't make it any better. I'm pretty sure the majority of the Premier League clubs do not have squeaky clean hands. Because now when we're talking in the realm of working of hundreds of millions and billions of pounds, please show me one or maybe even two people that have got clean hands when it comes to doing this kind of business. It happens everywhere, not just in football. All over the corporate world, it happens. So to me, I'm more inclined to believe that, this is something that happens fairly more regular than, what we're shown in the media. But because it's because it's a team that's so successful like Manchester City, it's definitely going to be magnified. Now, again, that doesn't make it right, in my opinion, what they're doing. It doesn't. So I do think that something's gone on a little bit there. But at the same time, Manchester City fans, if we're moving on to the fans, they are not the culprits in this. Yeah, they're like me, you, and everybody else on this panel. They're here to watch football. They're here to enjoy their football. And just like any other fan, they're going to want their team to be successful. They don't necessarily care by what means it's going to be done. They're just focused on what's on the pitch. So I do feel a little bit sorry for them. Of course, they're going to feel it's a witch hunt because it's a very scary outcome that can happen to them. Because if there's talk of things like, titles potentially being stripped and, the club being relegated down to the championship or whatever, of course, they're going to feel that element of fear. So it's a sticky one still. We're just going to have to wait for the judgment to see what happens. But again, I stand by it. I do not think Manchester City are the only club in the Premier League that have done unscrupulous things. 100% I don't.
Yeah, listen, I get you on that. I think I'm all up for a regulator. I think clubs should be regulated. And I think that if you're having a sponsor, that you should have to, again, I'm looking at it from, I worked in banking. I remember when there was a Russian, when you onboard Russians into the UK banking system, you have to do something they call enhanced due diligence. And some of the questions are crazy. Now, some of the questions are kind of normal if you're talking to a banker who was born in Russia. You ask him, why did he move from one bank to another? And it was real specific detail the bank had to collate in case they ever got investigated by the FCA. You had to, and I used to look after the football players. So I don't know if you guys remember the Russian manager called Slutsky. He come to the UK and managed Fulham. And some of the weird, and this is what's like most money in Russia it's very likely at some point everyone's money has touched some type of criminal activity. It doesn't mean people are criminals, but there's lots of criminal activity. This is according to the financial world. And I had to ask him questions and he had to prove, well, why did this club in Russia employ you? And then why did this club want you instead of them? And why did they offer you more money? And as a football person, we know why. He did a really good job and won trophies and a bigger and better club wanted him. But he had to provide, and his lawyers did it in the end, offers and emails and real accounts and details as to why he moved and why he went on. to a degree, we should have, and there's a reason that banks have that, because, for one reason or another. I think something like that needs to exist in football. So if an airline wants to sponsor Chelsea tomorrow, there has to be some documentation shared with a regulator, or at least stored by Chelsea, that a regulator could look at to ensure that it's a real sponsor and it isn't being backfilled by Todd Bowley or Clearlake in some other way. I think we should start doing that. And that way, if you cheat, it'll be very easy to prove because you won't have the documentation that's needed. So I do think there has to be some sort of regulator that comes in. Saad, do you think there's jealousy going on here, though? Do you think that people are just desperate for City to be guilty? Or do you believe that, deep down inside, whether they get away with it, whether they get found innocent or not, do you believe they have cheated to the degree that the Premier League think?
Jealousy, I wouldn't go that far. Listen, they are a successful club. They've brought the players in and they've played the games. They have won those trophies on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? But for me, it just stinks. It stinks of corruption. I mean, if we look back, I believe Man City in the COVID season were the only ones to make a profit. I believe if we actually look back, they were the only ones to make a profit. Everybody made a loss. They're the only ones who made a profit out of everyone. So that already has alarm bells ringing because how are they making a profit? Everybody's losing money. Secondly, the way that they suddenly amassed all this wealth out of nowhere, and ended up pumping money into the club from all these sponsors. Also, bells ringing from that, because that doesn't just come from you being, because let's face it, City were not a massive club. They were not a massive club to that level where they'd have sponsors and have plenty of money there and be able to buy all these players. So I can understand an owner investing, but the way it was done with them, it just happened way too quick. So for me, innocent till proven guilty in it. Innocent till proven guilty, but in the eyes of the public and in the eyes of the other fans and around the world, it all looks so fishy. I think even if they're found not guilty, I still think the fans are going to be like, nah. They're still guilty. They're still guilty. They probably paid off the freaking the courts or something. Do you know what I mean?
I want to throw out a comment. We've had this on the, I think Lee Gunner said it on the terrace before, and a lot of people I've seen in the comments are saying this. If you're not cheating, you're not trying to win.
If you're not what?
If you're not cheating, you're not trying to win.
What a load of crap. Do you know what? I'm going to go on a rant now. That is a sad reflection of modern day society that's even been said. That is a disgraceful attitude. Honestly, this is what I said. You know what? This is what I said to you when we first brought up City. Fans these days, younger fans, do not give a crap whether their team cheats as long as they win trophies. And I think it's an absolute disgrace. Honestly, this is why people of the older generation, even older than me, believe it or not, are giving up watching football, because it's no pride in the game anymore. You know, what is the pride of winning if you've cheated to get there? It's a disgrace. Honestly, I can't go on about it because I'll get on my soapbox and you won't shut me up. But it is an absolute disgrace.
Yeah. I agree.
I don't know. Listen, I think there's doing everything you can to bend the, if you get clipped in the box and your player falls down and wins that penalty that wins you a cup, do you compare that to financially doping or taking steroids or paying off referees? Some people would be very sort of facetious or pedantic, really, and go, well, cheating is cheating. I don't necessarily think cheating is just, there are huge differences, if that makes sense. But
Terry, no one would care if this was Burnley right now. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. It's just because what you said earlier, is it jealousy? I don't believe it's jealousy. I think more fans are invested because of how successful City have been over the last 10 years. If we were talking to Charlton Athletic or something like that, you might not even make it, put it on your stream.
I think people would care, especially if it was someone who...
I don't think they would care as much as what they're caring right now. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe not as much, but all the people that didn't get promoted because Burnley got promoted.
No, that's true. That's true.
It affects everybody in different ways at different levels.
But what highlights it more is how successful City have been during these 10 years, right? If they hadn't been successful and still got caught, then we'd talk about it, but we wouldn't be more invested in it. Like Arsenal, Liverpool fan, even myself, Ingrid, wouldn't probably be looking at it that much. It comes with the territory. If they've been found, I think they'll get found. See, I think they'll get found guilty, Terry, but they'll give them a slap, like a 2-year transfer ban reduced to 1, something like that. I think they'll give him a slap. But the problem is, I think it's going on so far because this is I can't remember a case like this at all in English football, and you have to set a precedent of this. So how do you? There's nothing to lean back on in history of football, in English football, of a case like this. So that's why it's taking. That's why it's, and also everyone go, well, why is it taking so long? It's totally different from Forest and Everton. Forest and Everton about profit and sustainability and losing money. We're talking about fraud. We're talking. This might even go beyond football if they are found guilty.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what comes up. When you say though, it's just about. We wouldn't care if it was as much if it was Charlton, because if Charlton had been cheating for 10 years and not progressed and gone backwards, it would be ban them for cheating, but you cheated and you're still bad. I'll give you an example. If it turned out that from 2008 until they retired, both Usain Bolt and Craig Pickering, who are both 100-meter sprinters, were both taking steroids week in, week out, which one would the world be more upset about? Craig Pickering, who won nothing, or the man that we have looked at and gone, wow, the greatest sprinter ever did it via cheating? I think we'd be more upset that we all love Usain Bolt, but I think we'd all be gutted if it turned out he'd been cheating that whole time. And I think for me, and that's the thing here, yes, you'll get the rivalry of, like, I hate City, so I want them to be guilty. But this is where I think it changes the landscape of football in England if they're found guilty to the level that the expert on TalkSport said, is that this team for a decade has been lauded. For the last 7 years, we spoke about greatest team ever. They've done trebles. They broke crazy records. They have stopped Liverpool. They have stopped Arsenal. They have stopped Man United from winning major trophies. It's never happened in England before, as far as I remember, not in the sort of the modern day era where potentially a team has cheated via either drugs in their players, financially doping or match fixing, cheated to an extent where the last 10-year history of our league is going to change. It's not worthless anymore, but it's going to change. And because they're so successful,
big asterisks,
and because they've been held in such high regard, I think that's why people care. Because imagine Liverpool fans as an example. If City didn't exist, maybe you wouldn't have demanded more from FSG, but I think you guys have, come on, you got to do more because City did. But what if City were only doing more because they cheated? You get where I'm coming from? I think that's the bit for me that's kind of being lost here. It's the way we view football in the last 7 or 8 years has changed because of the City team. But what if it ain't real? What if it's not real?
I'll tell you what it's doing. It's making every other club look into their cupboards, look into their finance, look into
that's why you boys, Chelsea, you've brassed yourselves up. You've reported that you've handed yourselves into the police.
Yes, we're not.
Do you remember during the 2010 riots in London, and they had all those mums like frog marching their kids to the police station? That's what Chelsea did. They give back them those 120, there's 110s, bruv. Give them back.
You know one thing I always look at here is, as you said, like football's obviously changed in the last 10 years, and to be honest, in just general, but also that kind of perception and the image of winning. I feel like obviously because of social media, that's also changed. So that's why I guess fans would care in that kind of sense, because of course, listen, throughout time, history, since Jesus was a boy, people cared about, the winning and losing, side of things, fair enough. But the image with being associated with a winner now, whether it be NBA or, whether it be a certain player, LeBron James, Steph Curry, whatever it may be, when we're looking at it in football terms, being associated with a winner, that's amazing. When you're having debates on social media, you can almost feel like you're sitting at the top of the table because no one can really chat to you anymore because my team's the best team in the world. Whereas before, it probably wasn't as bad because of the social media. So of course, if City are then found guilty, it's going to be a very, very quiet place on social media for Manchester
City.
But
then the Premier League have to look at themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
And themselves. So they've got to look at themselves, like you said, right? They've got to examine every single sponsorship deal now that a club gets, where that money's coming from. They've got to go through every deal that every club makes with a fine-tooth comb. It's got to be ratified, like you said, because otherwise this looks bad. If they don't do anything themselves, this looks bad on them as well if they find City guilty. In terms of it looks bad on them.
I totally agree. And as I say, like if City are innocent, I'll be someone that stands next to them and say, leave them alone. They haven't done this. But I look at it from if I just look at Arsenal as an example in the last few years, a lot of their high standard fans use City as the barometer for that's what success looks like. Imagine you scrape that away. The old ideology that a group of people have is based upon fraudulence. You know, it's a bit like, you know, if it turns out a really successful businessman built his empire upon illegal gains, you suddenly can't look at him as, you know, no one, when people are doing like business studies, no one uses like, what's his name, Pablo Escobar as an example, because although he was obviously a good businessman, it's not something that, you know, that you're proud of per se. Do you know what I'm saying? But there's some super chats here. This here says that, first of all, big up Kate for speaking up. What success are we talking about with City? If financial doping and money laundering helps them to buy players and helping them win, proven. The best thing for the Premier League, relegate cheats City and Chelsea. A lot of people think they won't relegate anyone from outside of inside the big six, the top six, the big six, whatever you refer to them as, because it will hurt the league financially. I think if these things are proven, they'll lose a lot more money in the long run. But wouldn't it be funny to see KDB playing in League One or something? It would be amazing, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? But yeah, these titles will be voided but not rewarded. I agree with that outcome, to be fair.
Yeah.
If they're found guilty, is Pep's legacy tarnished?
Good question.
No, because we've seen Pep Guardiola prior to Manchester City, and he was already one of, if not the best manager out there anyway. So,
but hold on. But what if, for example, they do strip them off their titles? Then has Pep wasted his time being at Manchester City for as long as he has? And how is he going to feel about that on a personal level?
No, because we've still watched Pep. Like, obviously, I know, obviously, if they strip it, of course, it's all voided and stuff. But we've watched him during this time, so I wouldn't even say it's really been a waste of time. And as I said, that time prior to Manchester City, he was already the greatest, if not the top 2 manager in world football anyway. It's not like he was a manager who, like, if it was like Mikel Arteta as an example, where he moved to Manchester City, then he just, you know, started winning all these trophies. Then you're like, oh, you know what I mean? This is your first job. You've won all these things. We know Pep was already great prior to this anyway. So I don't see how it changes, man.
If Pep's ambition is to chase records of, let's say, an Alex Ferguson or whatever, if he does get there, the thing is, he's going to have an asterisk next to his name for the rest of history. You see what I'm saying? Whereas an Alex Ferguson and that don't. So that kind of changes things a little bit, don't you think?
But he said he'd leave. He said he'd leave anyway, didn't he? Didn't he say he'd leave if they found
I think it doesn't. I'll get where G's coming from, because we've seen what he's done with that team. What it does undo, it undoes his Premier League legacy, because if that team shouldn't have existed, then we don't know what he would have done with less resources and a team with less capability and depth, as an example. Again, I've said it all along. If they are guilty of this, the 2 groups of people that I would genuinely feel sorry for would be the players and manager as one, and the majority of the fans. Forget the fans online that give it. Like, most of their fans are not 99. None of their fans are accountable if their club's cheated. Imagine going through what they've been through in the last 7, 8, 9 years and the happiness they've felt. Imagine in the end you're told it was all fake. It was all built upon a lie. I genuinely feel sorry for him, because if any of us went through that, like, imagine how you'd feel like it's not real. So there's a part of me on a human level that hopes that it's not real just for them, because they don't deserve that. But, you know, all banter aside, they don't. But we will see. Rahman here says, Terry, Allah is with us. Nothing is bigger than Allah's power. Listen, bro, I'm not going to give an opinion on that. All I'm going to say is you're a good guy, Rahman, individually, and I hope for you get a good outcome, my friend. For me, are we serious that he doesn't know what has been going on? Pep has also said Barca, who have been charged with similar cases. Well, can you imagine, though, if both Barca and City have everything stripped for cheating, all when Pep is there, and he's left with no trophies, barring his...
Yeah, that's crazy.
Imagine if Pep's whole legacy was a lie. He's just a stooge.
That's when you'll be like, all right. But then I don't know, man, because at the same time, I'm still going to look at him and think, but I saw you. Like, I watched you.
The Barca one will be different, because that was paying... That was match fixing. So that's
that's not really players. That's,
Pep with this team still had to make this team gel and work.
Exactly.
The Barcelona one is very different, because essentially it's referees to help fix games for them. Like, if that's true, it's crazy.
I tell you what, Terry, then start looking at Bayern Munich just for the laughs.
I was going to say, you might as well. Yeah, you might as well.
Can you imagine? He ends up retiring with just one FA Vans trophy that he wins in League Two with City. Do you know what I mean?
Barcelona Youth Trophy. It's got a Barcelona Youth Trophy.
It's not going to happen. Everybody relax. Pep doesn't work with teams with limited budget. Yeah, sure. Legacy backed with money.
You know, I just sorry on that. Yeah,
No.
I've never understood that argument anyway, because I always looked at it and think, what do you want him to manage Stoke? Like, was he supposed to go from Barcelona to like Stoke, or like I don't understand this narrative with some managers. Like, we've seen Mourinho go to like top clubs. It's only been in the last really Roma, if I'm being honest, where he's gone to a club and you're like
Spurs as well.
Spurs.
I respect Spurs, but I think
little.
I think when we're looking at it, I'm like, what did you even expect these guys to do? Like, they're top managers. A top manager is not going to go and because I don't know, John 123 on social media said, yeah, you can only do it with money, he's going to decide to go to Stoke City. Like, that's just never gonna happen, man. Like, we need to get out of our heads.
No,
that'd been great
agree.
to see him work on Rory Delap's throw-ins, just to see.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Though. Yeah, that'd be cool.
See if he can do it. Will the Prem stand up to City like UEFA did? Well, they have. They've charged them. So let's just get it right. They have been charged. So Joshua Jack, so far they have stood up to them and they're taking it further. But viewers, give us your thoughts, give us your feelings in the comment section below. I'm going to come to Gunny first on this. Chelsea today again linked with a move for Karim Benzema. I've seen a mixture of responses from Chelsea fans on this. What are you saying, Gunny? Are you behind this as someone to come in and help your team score more goals this season?
Absolutely. Karim Benzema coming to Chelsea, absolutely would love that. And especially considering our strike options now. Those that have watched me just know what I think about Nicholas Jackson and Armando Broja. I'd love to see the back of them. But having someone like Benzema in the squad, it also adds something extra to the absolute quality that you'd be having up top. It's experience, and not just any type of experience. It's experience at the highest level that has won everything that there is to win in football. And that is something that we've been massively lacking ever since, the ownership has come in and done what they've done with the squad. So I definitely think that would be a huge positive for Benzema to come to Chelsea. On top of the goals that he'd be able to score, he's a magnificent player. Now, granted, a lot of people are going to say, well, he's almost 40 years old. He's a little bit past it. But he's a player that's kind of aged like fine wine. Do you know what I mean? Due to some, obviously, he's not going to be as mobile as some of the younger players, but he's one of those ones that was able to refine his game and use his brain to his advantage as well. So I'd definitely be happy with Benzema coming. My only thing is though, what gives me a massive element of doubt is the logistics of how this is going to be done. Because as you know, this guy's paid, I believe, over 2 million a week over there in Saudi Arabia. So I don't know how Chelsea or any other team is going to negotiate that down where they can pay a reasonable wage every single week to be able to have him playing at the club, regardless of if it's a loan. You know what I mean?
That goal bonus is going to be heavy, man. I'll tell you what.
So go on with this, go on, bro.
We spoke to this earlier, and I said, I jokingly said like Poch's going to play him like DM or right back or something. Poch this season. I'm agree with Goonie. I think the player itself, no problem. I think the logistics are this. There's reports saying he would have to take a pay cut. I mean, what we're talking about? What, like a 90% pay cut or something to join us? Because Goonie knows at this club, they ripped that wage, the wages down by a lot, and it's more incentive based now at the new players that are coming, apart from the ones that were bought the previous summer, like Sterling and something like that. That's the only thing I have a red flag on, is how they do that. I would love him to come in. Like I said, I haven't really watched the Saudi league, so I can't really tell how he's doing, how long it would take. My thing is, well, how long would it take for him to get up to speed? I'm already wary about Poch, about him injuring our players in training that we've got under contract. So someone on loan is going to be I'm a bit wary of. But the player himself, I have no problem. Any Chelsea fan that has a problem with this about just the player himself, I really think you need to take a look at yourself in the mirror. When we saw Armando Broja these past few weeks. You know what I'm talking about? So, just even if he's 36, 37, I don't care. I think he's still... If you're getting him for it could be for 4 months, really, we're talking about, aren't we? Really, 4 months. I mean, Have his first game if we get through to League Cup final, back against Liverpool, the winner's there. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. You know, that's all good. That's the dream. But yeah, the player's fine. It's just the logistics of it doesn't. I don't know how they're going to do that, especially now with like profit and sustainability. They're looking at a lot more and financial fair play. I just don't know how they go about this. You know, unless they find another loophole, Terry. They do love to find loopholes, these guys. So you know, it's one of those. So
yeah, like, I get that. Saad, Arsenal are linked with him as well, and again, it's a mixed bag when it comes to Arsenal fans. Some want him. Some think, no, too old, isn't the right fit for us. He can't press, he can't play the Arteta way. Like, how do you see this? How gutted would you be if Chelsea or Man United even ended up with Benzema when Arsenal were crying out for a top striker?
Furious, mate. I would rip your hand off for him, mate. Rip your hand off for him. I don't care what it takes. I don't care. Bro, if we have to sell Kai Havertz mid-season, get him off the wage bill, I don't care. To have a fire sale with Eddie and Nketiah, get all these guys out, I don't care. Bring Benzema to my club. That guy is still able right now to play at the top level. Still. The only reason why he moved there is because of the whole image rights and these deals that the Saudis were popping out. That's the only reason why a lot of players went there, is because they were like, you know what? Come here. We're gonna take the majority of your image rights. We're gonna utilize you and use you to promote our country for people to visit. That's majority of why they've been brought there, because these guys are massive superstars, bro. I still think he's such a good striker. I think he comes into our system, he is there to score goals. Simple as that. With the amount of balls that we cross into the middle, he'll get on a lot, on the end of a lot of them, man. I would take him in a heartbeat. If he goes to Manchester United or Chelsea, I will be furious that we've let that guy go, especially when it's a loan deal.
I'm really surprised he's not linked more back to going back to Real Madrid.
No,
Really
apparently I saw something from Madrid Extra, which is like a pretty big journalist that says, they said that apparently it's off the books. Real Madrid have declined him, saying we don't want you back.
Okay,
which is funny because they need a striker as well.
They got Jostelu, yeah. They pay Bellingham up front by himself. Yeah, it's like,
so, but I would take him in a heartbeat, man. I think he's still top striker, man.
What would be the better signing, Kate, this January? Benzema to Arsenal or Chelsea, or Timo Werner to Spurs?
I think they're both shit. Do you know what? I think it's hilarious that Arsenal and Chelsea fans think that Benzema would come to your clubs. Arsenal have got Arteta, and Chelsea are like a mid-table bang average team. Why the hell would Benzema walk away from £170 million a year tax-free in Saudi to go to a mediocre Premier League club? Please enlighten me, because I cannot see any attraction at all.
So Chelsea's mediocre, yeah, I can understand that, but
and Arsenal have got full.
Hold on a minute, Kate, relax. Remember, go look at your cabinet before you chat about my club. First.
Oh, that's original.
Now, secondly, let's just put something out right here. Yeah, he may be coming in under Arteta, which yes, Arteta is an experienced manager, he's still a young manager, but coming into that team with the chances that we create when we're in the Champions League.
You got 1 winning 7.
When we're in the Champions League, when we're in the Champions League, it's as simple as that. He comes in there, he starts scoring goals for us. It's easy as that. I think he's still a top class striker. And the fact that you said they're both shit when Terry asked the question is crazy. I don't know how you can put shit next to Benzema.
Because he would never come to use. Oh my God, Arsenal couldn't afford him, first of all. And why on earth would Benzema, one of the greatest players to ever play the game, go and work under Arteta? Please. There is why? Well, because he wants to work with world-class Saka. Come on, have a day off, please. It's hilarious.
When he comes to the club, if he comes to my club, you'll see, man. You'll see.
When
it's
he's about 15,
it's just about sorting the financials. It's just about sorting the financials.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah,
but there's no point. You're acting like we're a small club trying to go for a big player. We're really not. I've got more league titles. I've got more league titles than you. What are you talking about? I'm top 3, bro. This is crazy. We're top 3 in England, and she's calling us a small club. Coming from a Tottenham fan.
Average
a Tottenham fan who hasn't seen a trophy.
Forget
They
trophy.
haven't seen a trophy. They got to one measly little
Forget
Champions
trophies,
League final,
that is just
and
a
then they
childish
spunked it at the end.
response.
Come on, man.
The
What's going on,
trophy
man?
thing
What
is a
this,
childish
bro?
response.
Yes,
Your
because you
manager
have
is a
none.
fraud.
Every Tottenham fan tells me it's a childish response. You have none. That's why it's a childish response. To me.
Okay, okay, okay,
Oh
crack
my
on.
God.
Kate, let me ask you a question, Kate. Why are
Oh,
Arsenal a
wait.
small club in your opinion?
Brilliant.
They're not a small club with their history. Of course they're not. They're a massive club with their history. But at the minute, they've got 1 win in 7. They've got a shit manager who is a fraud that everybody can see is a fraud. And even Arsenal fans are now saying he's a fraud. So why would Benzema want to go and work under him? It's an absolutely madness suggestion to even contemplate that a player like Benzema would go and work under a man made of Lego. I'm sorry, it's a crazy, crazy idea. But let the Arsenal fans dream, let them dream with their world-class Saka.
The fact that this is coming from a Tottenham fan is laughable.
Well, you laugh away, darling. You laugh away.
Your
When
best
you're
manager,
counting
your
your
best manager
trophies
in
at the
recent,
end of the season.
Kate,
Oh, that'll be none.
Your best manager in recent years, went to Chelsea right now. Look what he's made these guys do. Look what he's made these guys do. They're questioning if Benzema's going to come and actually play at striker. What's going on? They're questioning why Conor Gallagher's having a team built around him. That's your best manager.
But what's that got to do with me? What Pochettino's doing? What a stupid argument. Honestly, it's like arguing with a 12-year-old. That doesn't matter. I don't care if Poch is going to shagging someone's mum. I don't care where he is. I don't care where Pochettino is. It makes no difference to me. I don't even care about any team. I'm telling you now, if you were Benzema and you were getting £170 million a year, tax-free in Saudi, and someone come to you, you can go and play for Arsenal under Mikel Arteta and play with Martinelli and Saka. You tell me he's going to go, oh, that sounds like an interesting prospect.
The reason why they're saying that Benzema wants to leave there is because he wants to come back to the heights of football in European
Well, go to Liverpool then, or go to someone that better. I mean, you're not going to go under Arteta.
So hold on a minute. Hold on, because Kate has just put herself out here, yeah? So he's instead of going to Arsenal who are in the Champions League, he's gonna go and play Bucharest in the Europa League and go out to Lithuania. He's gonna go out to Lithuania just because he wants to have a little bit with Jurgen Klopp.
He would be playing under a decent manager alongside excellent players. Arsenal don't have either of those.
Saad, I know. Even when you said that about Liverpool, I know your heart wasn't even in it because I know you didn't even believe what you just said. You and I both know when it comes to Liverpool, that's why we can't enter this kind of conversation. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because we already know that if Liverpool were in for him, we're good now. That's it. It's done. There's no Chelsea.
I just don't think he'd come to the Premier League anyway.
But yeah, and exactly. I'm with Kate. I don't even think he'll even come to the Premier League anyway. But if he does, I feel he'd be more likely to lean towards a Chelsea anyway than he would do an Arsenal, regardless. Not because I don't think, forget the money side of things. I just think the type of player that he is, Chelsea, the kind of club that they are, what they need, a number 9, I feel like he would just end up going there. And I think he'd actually do better at Chelsea than he would Arsenal anyway, to be honest. Not because I think Chelsea are better than you. The Arsenal are better than Chelsea. Let's get that right. But the type of striker that you say that you need, you say about the chances creation and stuff like that. Nah, I don't think it will work like that. I don't think it works like that. I feel like Chelsea would be a better destination for him in the end. But it is what it is, to be honest. But
to be honest,
Liverpool thing, I know your heart wasn't in it. So
yeah, since I got called a small club by a Tottenham fan, this whole conversation did not make sense. But anyway, listen, I think him coming to my club, I genuinely don't think it will be that bad, bro. The amount of chances we create, the amount of crosses that we put into the box, he will get on the end of them.
I just think you're a bit too. It's so. I don't want to call him I'm not going to call Arteta a fraud. I don't think he's that. I'll allow Kate to say that, but I do think when it does come to Arsenal, you're so stylistic, which isn't a bad thing. That's definitely not a bad thing. But you're so stylistic in what you need and what you require. Having someone like a Benzema, and we already know he is one of, as Kate said, literally one of the best strikers to play the game of football. Like, we know he is. I just think that Chelsea just might be, for these 4 and 5 months, whatever it is, just might be a better destination for him as opposed to going to Arsenal, where I do think you guys are more looking towards, you need someone not for this short term. I don't feel like it's Arteta thinks, oh yeah, I just need it for the next 4 months, and then what happens after that? He's looking for someone who, an example, I'm looking for a Tony, someone I know I'm going to sign today, but he's going to be here for the next 2, 3, 4, whatever years. Not someone who's only going to be here 4 months and then you don't win the league, and then what happens? Now you've just signed a guy for 4 months to do nothing. I just don't feel like that's how it's going to work. Not because they are better. You are still better than them. It's just more logistically. I don't feel it's
I understand.
The thing is, with FFP as well, Arsenal and Chelsea, neither of them surely could afford to pay even.
Yeah, and there's that too.
£3.5 million a week.
Yeah, but it's been well documented that if he comes back to Europe, he knows he'll be going back onto a normal European wage, 200,000 to 300,000 a week. So he knows that money was to. If he wants to leave the Saudi league, he also knows he's got to leave that money. He knows he's not going to get it here. Ronnie says Benzema is perfect for Højlund to learn from. I'd love him at Man United, to be fair. Matt here is a gooner, of course, says, Kate, you're signing Werner. We signed Declan Rice.
Yeah, and we signed James Maddison. I'd have him over Declan Rice any day of the week, darling.
What, playing old in midfield?
Well, no, but I'd have him at my club above it. I'd have Basuma over Declan Rice. I don't like Declan Rice. I would, yeah. I can't stand Declan Rice. I think he's a cocky little brat.
Go look what Basuma's doing for this country, man. He gets subbed off and they play better.
He's got malaria. That's why. He's got malaria.
What is this, man? What is this?
He's got malaria, poor bastard. He got subbed off because he's ill. Hero Lord.
He's playing football with malaria. That's madness. Arsenal are one of the best teams in the Premier League. Lol, Benzema would join both Arsenal and Chelsea. Obviously not at the same time. I think he means there. Big up Terry, keep working hard. 1 million subs will happen. Yeah, in about 5 or 6 years. But yeah, we'll keep working.
That's when Arsenal was signed Benzema about that time when he's like 45 or something.
Yeah, Lord.
To the Chelsea boys, would you take Jose back?
I'll let Surfer answer that first.
No. I love Jose, and he's my. By the way, he's my GOAT manager at Chelsea. No one comes close. But I just think in this day and age, and we're seeing it right now, coaches need to balance a coaching and man management. And I just don't think Jose's got the patience anymore. I don't think he's evolved as well. And I think he needs to just step away, be a pundit, and then go coach Portugal for Last Hurrah.
No, coach England.
Plus, I'll tell you right now, Terry, I wouldn't allow some of this Chelsea fan base, because they'll be ripping him to shreds in like 3 months. And I just wouldn't be able to handle that. I'd be going off on them. I just don't want that.
On top of that as well, who's to say Mourinho would come back and agree to manage in such an environment as well? Because the amount of restrictions that are going to be put upon him, the current squad that he's working with, Mourinho is notoriously known to be having, to want to say in terms of players that are coming in and players that are leaving. Is he going to get that level?
He hasn't got a great history of youth players anyway, even at our club. Do you know what I mean? It was like you saw it, Terry. I mean, I know for your sins he put McTominay in your starting lineup, so that's probably why you don't like him that much. So
I don't dislike Jose. I was disappointed it didn't work, but I thought he was past his best when he managed us as well.
Yeah, he's just not the same. He's not the same anymore. Roma is his level. If you know what I'm saying, it's not a diss at Roma, but just with Roma,
he's done. He needs to be put out. But for me, manage England. He's basically an honorary Englishman anyway, to get it done. 20 here says Arsenal and Chelsea both have 2 of the youngest squads in the league. I'm sure that will get Benzema excited. The thoughts, since he loves kids. I don't get that.
Yeah.
Let's move on, man.
It's a wild one.
I don't even know. I don't really get involved. If we sack Eric in the summer, I want Tuchel at Ronnie Tuchel. No. Diego, baby. Or this take Klopp off Liverpool, one of the two.
We've got more chance of Diego coming, I think.
Terry, who is proud amongst your panel? Kate.
What's that mean?
Kate, I love him. I don't know what you mean. I still think it's weird that she's a Spurs fan with an Eden Hazard.
It's not bloody.
on her
Do you
wall.
know that's going? I'm getting rid of that. It's going
Hazard.
downstairs, and Vicario's
Hazard.
coming back.
I was getting confused whether she was Chelsea or Spurs, but then
No,
I
it's Mickey Hazard. Jesus.
So I say, when did Hazard wear
If you look
five?
on the
I can't remember
windowsill,
when
you can see the chicken on the beach ball. It's there.
Yeah, I see it now.
It's all Tottenham.
That's the only trophy she got.
Oh, Terry, stop it.
I know, we see that there. Remember, people, we are sponsored today by Match Bingo. You can download their app now. It is absolutely amazing. I'm not going to lie. And by the way, if you download now, you get 10 free cards to play with. Now, it is an amazing app, and I want to walk you through this app very, very quickly. The way it works is I like a little bit of a flutter on a football day. It might be, a bet on a correct score, but it's always quite difficult to know what to actually sometimes place a little bet on. The great thing about Match Bingo is you just buy the card and then it's like playing bingo. So I'm going to show you this here. You buy it and you essentially get a card that looks like this. And this is a card from the Arsenal Crystal Palace game. They're giving away free cards on that as well. So when you get signed up, and it basically gives you a breakdown of what needs to happen in the game. If you get one line, you can win £25, 2 lines, £50. And on this one, if you get a full house, there's a £100 return. The way these essentially look is, as you can see here, I've highlighted one. On the Arsenal side, on one of my cards, I need Arsenal to take a free kick. You know it's kind of going to happen. You also here see that Palace have to have an attempt off target to fill this card. And there's some neutrals in the middle of, red cards or goals that need to be scored by either team. Really fun. You can sit back, enjoy the game, get out your Match Bingo card and see whether you win a little bit of money. Very cheap as well to play. It's a couple of pounds to buy a card. I'm playing it every single week. I'd love you to join in with me. So get it downloaded either now or at the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. But it's a whole lot of fun. You can scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in our description below. Please make sure like buttons are hit and you subscribe. Oh, on Chelsea, before I move on to the Arsenal game this weekend, Gunny, we haven't spoken a while. What is your current take on the Chelsea situation overall? Because some people are calling for Poch to be sacked. Some are saying they've got to stand by him and see this sort of rebuild through. Like, how do you view it as a Chelsea fan right now, bro?
While I do think that Pochettino does need to go, I think it's definitely an array of problems. Pochettino is the smallest problem out of the lot, but that doesn't mean, in my opinion, that he doesn't have to go. He definitely does, because there's things that he does that definitely don't help himself in terms of a tactical perspective. Misprofiling players consistently, playing centre backs at left backs when sometimes there's not even a need to do that. Playing left backs at right backs at left backs. Attacking mids in the pivot, and so on and so forth. The list goes on. But then for me, it's also the crop of players. I honestly believe that this crop of players is not good enough in the long run for Chelsea to be competing on all fronts the way I would like them to compete. That's just my opinion. But the bigger problems is definitely the recruitment team, 100%. Paul Winstanley and the other guy. They have absolutely decimated this club, and they've replaced them with, like I said, below par players, in my honest opinion. And that also comes from the ownership. The ownership are the ones that are instilling this philosophy at Chelsea Football Club, this youth process thing that we've got going on. In fact, we was promised that if we're going to be going down the elite route, the young route, we're going to be getting some of the young elite players. How many of those young elite players have we signed? We've let Musiala go, but if he's available, I don't think we'll be going in for him. Jude Bellingham has just gone over to Real Madrid. Kylian Mbappe is not going to have. There's no chance of him coming to Chelsea, even if he will be available. So, which elite youth players are we talking about here that can come in and contribute straight away, and that also have the experience at the highest level? We're not getting any of that. So I think those three factors definitely need to be looked at. So I'm looking at the manager as the smallest problem in this. The recruitment team definitely next. I think they've got to be binned off and go. And then the ownership as well. They need to have a look at their philosophy and change it for things to get better.
Yeah, listen, I think that's echoed a lot of what Winter Surfer has said on shows recently and other Chelsea fans, but I just wanted to get your take on it because, as I say, we haven't spoken a long while, and yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with you on large parts of that. Indeed, Terry, oh no, he didn't mean to say proud. He meant to say fraud. He said fraud.
Oh, that's all right. This is obviously an Arteta lover. Crack on.
Benzema will go back to Lyon, in my opinion. Interesting.
No, they just signed gift or ban. So I don't know if they'll
Yeah.
be in his budget. So yeah, I'm not too sure about that.
There we go. On G's point, Pep will not succeed at Liverpool.
I think he'll do the exact same as Klopp. I think he'll get the exact same amount of trophies as we got, which is 1 Prem and 1 Champions League. I think he'd do the exact same.
But that's assuming that we don't know who would be at Man City, right?
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
It's
You know what I
very
mean?
true,
So,
actually. Very, very.
Yeah.
Then again, I mean,
No idea.
Mancini's won titles, Pellegrini's won titles.
Right,
at City,
yeah,
so-
exactly.
Yeah.
They didn't follow him up either, did they? It was like one
I hear
time.
you on that.
Yeah.
Big game this weekend for Arsenal. Play Crystal Palace. I feel like it's must win for the Gooners because only 1 win in 7, 5 points off the top. Liverpool could win this weekend, which we'll speak about soon. And if they do and Arsenal fail to win, it could be anything between sort of 6 to an 8-point gap. Are you nervous about the game, Saad, or do you think after this little break, the team's going to come back refreshed and get back to playing better football and winning ways?
To be honest, of recent form coming into this game, I don't know what to think, to be honest, man. I don't know what to think. I don't know how the players are going to come back. They've had 14 days off, so I'm hoping that they can come back refreshed. I'm hoping that they can come back ready to win. But realistically, we should be beating Fulham. We should be beating Palace. We should be beating them. It's simple as that. With the quality that we have in our team, we have to be beating teams like this. And it's only about if we can finish our chances, because I think we will create a load of chances in this game as well. But it's whether we can actually finish them, put them into the back of the net. Because like City, we love to try and walk the ball into the back of the net, and it doesn't happen like that. Unless you have the quality that City has, where they try to pass it to the back of the net, you're not going to do it the way they do. You know what I mean? They just about score the goals because they have the quality there to do it. We don't have that quality yet. We don't have the world-class players yet to sit there, pass around. Oh, a goal will come eventually. A goal will come now. We need this game is very important for us because this is how we set the form for the next 5 to 6 games. We've got Liverpool coming up. We've got Nottingham Forest as well away. So we have to be looking at these games. A lot of them have to be wins. The only one that should be a tight game for us is the Liverpool game because they are still a good team. Do you know what I mean? They still got a very good defense, their midfield as well, and parts of their attack as well. If positioned properly, they can really hurt you. So that's the only game that we should really struggle in, to be honest. But other than that, listen, I think it's a must win. This will set the form for the next 5 games. And for the rest of the season, I hope. And I hope they come back refreshed. Feeling brand new. Forget about what happened previously in the first half of this season. Just focus on the goal, which is to try and get as high up in the table and possibly try and win the league, which right now is looking so far from happening. But listen, 5 points away from top. We're still in the title race. So we just got to put our heads down and get to work.
How do you see them getting on, G? Because obviously you're sort of top of the table right now, keeping them arm's length. There's been a lot of the last 2 or 3 weeks have been weird from an outsider looking at Arsenal. The fans are in meltdown. Rivals are talking about their season like it's completely done and dusted. Do you see an Arsenal bounce back or more struggles to continue?
They need to bounce back. I don't know if I see it, but they need to bounce back because one, I don't get the meltdown. I mean, you think you were 10th, at this time in the season, you're not doing anything. But apologies, I didn't mean anything about that. But in a general, the way that they're speaking in comparison to where they actually are in the league, you'd think that it was the worst thing in the world right about now. And I just think that this is what happens when you're in these kind of positions and you're relatively new to all of this, is that everything then becomes a meltdown. Do you get what I mean? Because you're not really used to all of this at this current moment in time. I feel that you should just chill. As Arsenal fans, I always look and just think, just chill. We've still got 18 games left of the Premier League to play anyway. So let's just see what it looks like later. But against Palace, you have to win. And then it's just about, let's just get these W's in. Liverpool, in my opinion, are playing crap. But guess what? We've got so many wins in the last few games. I'm not happy with the performances. We're getting the W's. You know what I mean? You just need to get back into the winning habit and then worry about this pretty football and all of that other good stuff. Worry about that later, once you're back into that kind of rhythm, and then you can, motor from there. But for now, I don't think it's anything to worry about. I think Arsenal fans are maybe going a bit too far, but you do need to bounce back, and it needs to start obviously this weekend. So let's wait and see. I hope you lose, of course.
Gee,
but, let's go.
Thanks for that. I know, bro. I think the reason why the meltdowns is happening is because of this whole thing with the process. He came in, had to get players out. We've been waiting for so long. Do you know what I mean? We're on the 4th year of his tenure. Like, eventually we need to try and win trophies. We need to. The fact that we've been throwing away. But for me personally, the reason why if we don't win a trophy this season, it's gonna get peak, is because he's throwing away Europa Leagues, he's throwing away FA Cups, Carabao Cups, and it's not good enough. It's not good enough. I want to win trophies. I don't care what trophy it is. Carabao Cup, FA Cup, League, whatever it is, Europa League, I don't care. I want trophies. It's as simple as that. And if you come out of these competitions the way he has in certain seasons where he's played lesser players. Last season in the FA Cup against Manchester City, Pep respected him and put a first team out, and he decided to sit there and mess about and put secondary players against Manchester City. It's not good enough. It's not good enough.
The cup competition.
I back my manager, G. I back my manager right now, but the way he's handled certain competitions, it is definitely suspect, man. You can't be doing that.
The cup competitions, I'll give you, but then it's tricky because it's cup competition. I mean, anyone can, that's just a one-off tie at times, blah blah blah. So that I might give you. League-wise, I don't know what you kind of I don't know what your expectations were at the beginning of the season. Maybe you thought, okay, cool, like we're here to win the league, which is fair enough, no problem. But if you don't win the league, if you finish 3rd, for example, and Man City and Liverpool finish ahead of you, I mean, you would expect that though, because they're better than you. So you would just expect that to be a thing. So I wouldn't be mad that if I was Arsenal, I didn't win. Oh, we didn't win the league, but like, Manchester City and Liverpool won it or came 1st and 2nd. I wouldn't be mad. You'd be more mad if it was Newcastle ended up winning the league and then you came 3rd. That's when you can maybe look at the context of not winning anything. But at the moment,
the reason why we're mad, the reason why we will be mad if that happens, is because the manager had the easiest job in the world in the summer. A system that works. A player like Granit Xhaka, he wants to leave, fine. Go ahead. Your wife wants to go to Germany. She wants to relax. You want to go with her? Fair enough. Do whatever you want. You bring in a player that is exactly like Xhaka, has the same characteristics, can defend and attack, and gets involved in the midfield. You go and bring Havertz into this midfield and spend 65 million, which is 5 million short of what they bought him for. And then you expect me to sit here and not win a trophy after I challenged last season, was at top for however long of the season, and one of the reasons why we lost that was because of one of such a fool. One of the reasons why we lost it was because of losing Saliba. So the defense. We lost players in the defense. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we lost it. Another reason is players started to fall off a bit. All he had to do was keep the system the same and improve. Bring world-class players in. Yes, he brought in Declan Rice, who I don't think he's world-class, but he's still a very good player. He brought Declan Rice in. Why are you going and bringing Havertz? Timber, I can understand, because you're bringing him in for the defensive, bringing him in to be a defensive backup and help with our defensive side. So if there's a centre-back out, he can play there. If there's a right-back out, he can play there. Left back, he can play there. Do you know what I mean? That's
you know what though, Saad. You know what, Saad. I think this is what before the World Club Cup, before they won it, that was City's arguably worst run of form under Pep in the league.
Yeah,
and you guys didn't take advantage of it, and that's why I think there's a meltdown as well. You guys should arguably, if you wanted, like this was last year's team, I think you'd be double-digit points ahead of City right now if it's just last year's team. I honestly do. But you haven't taken advantage.
But do you know the difference as well, though, Winter Surfer? Both Liverpool and City fans, I know they've won major trophies in recent years, so that helps, but they also wouldn't be having meltdowns at this point. They'd stay relaxed, stay behind their team. I think there's a knock-on effect there. Of course, big game this weekend as well for Liverpool. They play Bournemouth, who have been in scintillating form. You confident, G, that you'll get a result there?
Confident might be a bit of a strong word, but I think we'll get a victory. I think confident might be a strong, but you know, the way that we've been kind of playing this season in terms of just grinding out these wins, I think it'll be one of those. Because Bournemouth have been good recently. Do you know what I mean? I don't think they're not a Mickey Mouse team. Do you know what I mean? I don't think you can go there and just think you can just turn up and we'll get 3 points. We're going to walk away, score 6 goals. You know, no Salah, no Endo. Trent I think is injured as well. There are all these kind of little things. So I'm not going to say it's going to be an easy game, but I do think Liverpool, will walk away, with that victory. And I think this will be key for us moving forward. Is that because we've seen, as Witness Surfer just said, Man City went away, played bloody Club World Cup, started losing games, didn't win in 4 or 5 games. They're 2 points behind Liverpool in the league. They've come back and they're only 2 points behind, which tells you how great this team actually is, because they're only 2 points behind. Liverpool have lost 1 game this season. City have lost 3. They're only 2 points behind. So we need to now start going on the kind of runs that we know that Liverpool and Manchester City can do, which is, all right, between now and the end of the season, you can only afford to lose 1 game. And even then, you need to make sure that to hell that you can draw it. And you probably need to win about 16 of those matches from the 18 we've got left. That's the kind of run that we're probably looking to try and go on between now and the end of the season. So it's going to need to start here from Bournemouth, and we've got players obviously out. So it's one of those where get the win whilst we're not really at our best, then we can just move on and just get the W. Now, before I cared about performances. I was like, I'm not feeling it. Guess what? I don't care now. I just want to get the 3 points and walk away. That's it.
I'm intrigued about it. Gunny, how do you see this weekend going for both Arsenal and for Liverpool? Two wins. Do you think they'll drop points? Do you think it'll, City are obviously off and relaxing. Who do you think is going to have the better weekend out of all 3 of those teams in the title race? And I am excluding Tottenham and Villa because I don't think either will win the league. I think that Arsenal and Liverpool got more of a chance. City are still the favourites, and I mean that with respect. But who do you think is going to end up with a better weekend?
I do. It's not going to be easy for Liverpool, like G said. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I do see them getting 3 points. Did you mention City as well?
Yeah, but City ain't playing this weekend.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, so Arsenal. Sorry, my bad. Arsenal.
But it could be a good weekend if both teams drop points or whatever. But yeah,
Arsenal given their form, but true there is only we've been off for 2 weeks now. Palace is not going to be an easy game, so I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't come away with 3 points. If they came away with 1, which wouldn't be an ideal weekend.
No, Elise, he's out injured.
Oh, Elise is out injured.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. Is Anderson out injured as well still?
I don't know. I just heard about Elise. He's got
okay. All right, but I don't know. I just feel like Liverpool are going to come away the happier team this weekend, if I'm honest. If Arsenal get the win, obviously that would be great for them, but it's not going to be easy for them at all. I think they've got a more difficult fixture.
Do you think that 12:30 kickoff, Kate's going to be something about the big teams? They seem to really hate that 12.
Well, thank God Liverpool haven't got it, Terry. Be hearing it all week from their fans today at the 12:30 kickoff. Jesus Christ almighty. You know what I mean? Thank God. You know what I mean?
Do you think that could be a factor for them playing first, needing to win early kickoff?
Not really. I don't really get why we've had a winter break and Arsenal have taken their players over to Dubai. Surely they would be better off training in this cold weather than going to the hot weather and then coming back and being cold. No?
Because they like the restaurants over there, that's why.
Yeah, it must be. I saw last week. That was the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
I need to ask the gentleman this question first. Would you ever let a man feed you meat?
No. Terry, I've got to go, but the answer to that question is no.
No, please don't say that again, bro. Please don't say that again, word for word, bro. That's crazy.
Okay, obviously married to Jimbo. What would your reaction? What would you rather see Jimbo doing? Having a lap dance from a woman, or letting another man feed him kebab?
Definitely having a lap dance from a woman. I would be most alarmed if he had. Arteta looked like he was really enjoying himself. He's a really creepy dude. I'm not going to lie. I'd love to see Palace get something. It wouldn't surprise me if they did, but I went for a narrow win for Arsenal and a narrow win for Liverpool this weekend. I think Bournemouth will score a couple. I'm not going to lie, but I do think Liverpool nick it, and Arsenal I've put 2-1. Much to my disdain. But I don't think you can consider Arsenal are going to be in the title race anymore. I think it's too big a gap. I really do. And I'm not saying that because I think Tottenham are, because we're on the same points as you at the end of the day. I just think Man City and Liverpool are a class above everyone else.
I think there's more of an upset, not an upset. I think there's more of a chance of Liverpool dropping points than Arsenal if I weigh up the two teams they're facing. If this was Palace at Selhurst Park, I'd feel a bit different. It's away, so their away form is like, but Bournemouth, I keep forgetting the Bournemouth coach, and I do apologise, but he's really got them playing some good football this season. He really has. And that is not going to be, the problem is Liverpool are more machine-like in getting their results than Arsenal are. So you can't, if they were to go 1-0 down, you could easily see them coming back. Whereas Arsenal, I don't know their confidence given the last results. If they go 1-0 down, say in like the 75th minute to Palace or something, whether they'll be able to rise up against it. But I do see them coming through against Palace. But like I say, Bournemouth is a hard place to go this season. It's a very hard place to go this season. If you get away with any points from there, I think you've had a good day. I really do.
Yeah, look, I think both teams will win this weekend. I really do. I just think both teams. I just think both teams are going to win. I do think there's been such an overreaction for Arsenal's current form. I know 1 win in 7 isn't great, okay, but City went for a period recently where I think they only had 1 win in 6. It happens. I'm not saying they shouldn't be criticised. I'm not saying they shouldn't have a go at them. But I feel like there's been like an 18-month period where people have been waiting to really jump on Arsenal, and this was their moment. But their fans are the ones who have shocked me the most. Not the league gunners of this world that don't like Arteta. That makes sense. But the ones that have been fully behind him for 4 years, now, after a few bad results, they're throwing baby out of the bathwater. And I just think to myself, it's just strange from me on the outside looking in to see maybe it's because I feel like they're melting down more than Man United fans and Chelsea fans are.
I know. I honestly think it's
dead.
I think it's because I think they built themselves too high.
Exactly.
They didn't realise the effect of the transfer window was going to have on them, and they thought City got weaker. And they thought it was more of a gap. Stuff isn't. But that's why I think they built themselves up, and that's why they've allowed this. They've allowed this to happen. They've gone, and like you said, they've gone overboard. Honestly, they built themselves so far up that they were only that far away from City. But they didn't realise, man. Kai Havertz was a secret agent you didn't know was going to happen to you. Okay? And it cost you 65 million. Well,
just like people mentioning, a few people mentioning the Salt Bay stuff. I say this about Salt Bay. I just don't get it. I'm not saying I know he probably washes his hands, but I wouldn't let anyone do that to my food, let alone feed it to me. That's the weird bit. It's not even the feeding it to me stuff. That's never happened in any restaurant I've ever been in my life anyway. But it's the drizzling stuff and then slapping my meat. Like, can you imagine, right?
You're going to get so clipped. You're going to get so clipped for this.
Can you imagine, right? Can you imagine you go to a normal... Imagine you go Nando's. Man walks over with your Nando's, puts it down on your plate, and then gets his bare hand and starts slapping your chicken. Can you imagine what you do? You imagine what you do?
I tell you what, you look at your KFC bucket differently if they did that in a restaurant, wouldn't you?
Can you imagine? He starts cutting, he cuts the leg off and he starts dangling it over your mouth. You wouldn't eat it.
No,
I don't get it. I don't get it. I've never understood the fascination with, and I went off of him as soon as he was on the pitch of the World Cup, holding the World Cup trophy. I don't think you should touch a trophy that you've never won. I'm really, family maybe, but whatever else. But yeah, like it just wouldn't happen anywhere else. It wouldn't happen anywhere else.
And it costs so much, Tel. Apparently, that whole process, I think, costs like 10 grand or something like that.
It don't even make sense. It's imagine, like, Man's got all my meat juice all over his hands. I just don't get it.
So you're making this, bro. Andy, he didn't take none of the warnings, bro. This guy is just pushing out, bro.
I don't
You're
understand.
gonna get
That's
clipped now, bro.
I'm just talking about what Salt Bay does. It's not me, literally. It's just a weird one. Do you know what I mean? Imagine what you do. You're having a McDonald's prepared and someone's going through your burger with their fingers. You go mental. You go mental.
Yeah, someone picks up one of your chicken nuggets and starts.
Can you imagine? You go and get an ice cream from the ice cream van and he licks it. You wouldn't do it. Any other walk of life, you wouldn't.
He gets a flake out of your 99. Gets a flake out of your 99.
Even not food. Imagine you go to JD Sports, you find a nice new pair of treads, and the guy comes down with them, but they're not in the box. He's wearing them. You wouldn't buy them.
Oh my gosh!
So why are you eating meat that another man is slapping about? I don't even get it. I don't get it. I've never understood it. And you people pay about £3,000 for a steak. You know that it's probably cheap meat as well. It's honestly, it's crazy. And I found out the other day, he's not even the chef who cooks it. So if you like it, he didn't cook it. He's a waiter.
Oh wow!
He ain't the chef, bruv. He's a waiter. That's what I was told. If I'm wrong, I apologize. I thought he was. I thought like, do you know what I mean? I love Gordon Ramsay. Maybe I'll let Gordon Ramsay touch my meat a little bit. But
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
This is done. We are done. This is done. Gordon Ramsay is crazy.
I do love a bit of Gordon Ramsay. There's a couple of super chats here. Let a man feed me for having an effing laugh. Let no man feed me. Yes, I know, Jimbo. It's not even. It's just I don't get it. Like, the only two people in the world that I let put food in my mouth for my children. Like my kids walk up to me, they're very generous, and I might be eating an apple and they'll give me a bit of it. They're the only two people that put the food in my mouth. Like, I wouldn't even let my woman do it. Do you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't. It's weird. Weird. Evening, if City get relegated into the Championship, would that not stop teams from the Championship automatically getting promoted to the Prem? How is that fair?
I think they've relegated them all the way to the bottom, wouldn't they? If that's fixed. There's no point of. No, I'm being serious.
Conference South, bruv. Conference South would be beautiful. I would make them have to play a qualifier for the FA Cup. That's what I'd do to them. Man United choose to let leaks carry on. I'm not sure that at least have a strong idea who the player, journalist. Yeah, listen, I think it's a huge mixture of people that are doing that at Manchester United, my friend. I really, really do. Terry's meat has been clipped. Listen, if people are taking that in a sort of erotic way, that is your mentality. I've been sitting here talking about Nando's chicken, steak, and trainers. If you turn that into something a little woo, that's on you.
You've been doing this part now. You've been doing this.
No, I ain't done anything. I'm just talking about somebody touching my food, bro.
When someone picks it and edits it, it can be used in any form.
Context is gone, bro.
Context
is gone.
It's gonna be a clip of you going, oh, let Gordon Ramsay touch my meat. That'll be going around right there.
And some guy's got my meat juice running all down his arm.
You got to remember this. I'm very comfortable in who I am. Things like that don't bother me. Listen, if you're not, I wish you well. I wish you very, very well. Look, I want to thank our sponsors today, Match Bingo, for sponsoring this show. Absolutely amazing app. If you're over the age of 18, based in the UK, and of course, make sure if you do it, it's very cheap to play, but make sure you gamble responsibly. It's not for everybody, and I totally understand that. So do it responsibly. I personally enjoy it. It's an amazing game to play. Get it downloaded. Take a little bit of a look. If it's for you, use it. Get it done. It's a little bit of fun as well. Kate, Gunny, Saad, Winter Surfer, I know G has already gone. Thank you to all of my viewers. You're absolutely brilliant. I really appreciate you all tuning into the Super Chatters. You're amazing. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless.
Southgate out.
No